so many scenarios and so many stories, but one of the things that actually triggered me is that people believed in consultants more than they believe in their own people, which is very sad, to be honest. I remember going and working with a client and working with one of the functions, and the guy who's heading the department, he's been there for 30 years, and he gave me everything that needs to be done. And after my analysis, meeting with people, understanding the organization, reading the strategy, brainstorming, I got to the same conclusion, to be honest. This guy has been preaching this for 30 years and nobody was listening to him. So for me to go as a consultant standing in front of a board and giving me that solution, everybody was clapping for me. Everybody was applauding, and some of them were very happy that we come up to that conclusion, which is very sad. And I had to give them that credit. I told them, this guy has been working with you, and he's the one who actually told me, this is the way. And I reached the same conclusion. So let's invest in people. Let's hear them out.
Hello, and welcome to our today's episode of our podcast, Human Capital Uncovered, Chat with Haifa. I'm your host, Haifa Abu Zabiba, and today we'll be diving deep into the world of human capital with a well-renowned expert in the field. I'm your host, and basically I'm thrilled to welcome Mr. Ahmed Qubouri, who is a seasoned Saudi executive with over 20 years of experience, demonstrating expertise in HR transformation, strategic planning, and employee engagement. And he worked across a number of industries such as real estate, hospitality, FMCG, and professional services as well. He has a master's degree in information technology from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. So sit back and tune in to explore Ahmed's remarkable journey and insights that he will be sharing with us today. Welcome, Ahmed.
Welcome, good to be here.
Thank you. Could you tell us about who you are and what was it in the early years that helped you to become the success you are today?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First and foremost, I'm Ahmed Qubouri. I'm 43 years old. Started my career as an IT professional. Actually graduated, alhamdulillah, from American University from Washington, D.C. Then I moved to George Washington University also for a master's degree. Came back to Saudi, worked in IT for 4 years. But something was, I wouldn't say wrong, but something was missing. I worked with IT, but I felt something was missing, so I needed to move somewhere else. So I was very intrigued by how organization work, how HR works. It's just a passion for people. So I moved to HR, I moved to PwC, changed all my career. Went to PwC, worked there for almost also 4 years. Then I moved to an FMCG company. Then I moved to another a Saudi stock company. And I've been working as a management consultant ever since. And for me, success is basically, I wouldn't call myself a successful person. I'm enjoying the journey. I believe success is a destination. So I'm enjoying the journey, enjoying these increments, progress in my career. I believe when you feel that you're absolutely successful, you'll be missing out on so many things, so many great opportunities. So for me, maybe I will just call myself a lifelong learner. I think this is the right way, I think.
That's an amazing word. A lifelong learner is a great way to coin success. Thank you for that. And how do you ensure that HR strategies align with the business goals?
Well, I think, alhamdulillah, we have come a long way as HR professionals. I mean, contributing part in the organizational structure and strategy articulation is absolutely critical. HR has moved from an administrative department in the past 20 years to an enabling partner. So basically, just try to be part of the strategy articulation. Make sure that we invest in people. Make sure that we convey our concerns to the upper management. And once we have a data-driven tools, HR technology, then the management, I think, will be more inclined to work with HR and support HR in strategy and being part of that strategy.
Yes, very true. Is there, because we have companies that have different strategic priorities. Some want innovation, product innovation. Some want customer intimacy. Some may want operational excellence. How do you adjust the human capital strategy to, depending on which umbrella it falls under in an organization?
Well, basically, just like you said, Haifa, and just understanding that strategy, where are we going, and answering those questions. And the management, the upper management, need to feel that human capital is an absolute critical column in that development. And if you're just going to ignore it, you're just going to kick the can down the road. So making sure that even if in industries, I work in the real estate and FMCG industries, it boils down of trying to attract people and retain them by developing them and by showing them a progression. Not only just don't provide them a product, provide them a solution, give them a career. Don't just tell them, just you have this job and that's it. If you could market it, that's why a lot of family-even businesses here in Jeddah have sustained themselves because they have done that. Because they know the old way of doing things was not working. So try to develop, make those programs, try to make people learn, let them see the progression. And we have success stories about this here in, mashallah, numerous fields here in Saudi.
Yes, definitely. What are the biggest challenges that you face as a CHRO in Saudi Arabia?
Oh, there are plenty, but I think we could come up with three now. I think one of the main thing is the evolving legislation and regulations. I think a good CHRO will be one step ahead, will be vigilant of understanding those legislative proposals. If they come law, what would we do as a CHRO? I think we need to run some scenarios and making sure that if they become law, you're one step ahead. The second thing I would say is bridging the gap between the businesses and the pool of talents that you have. And this, I think, would require some creative strategies, recruitment strategy. I think the old way of doing things, just, posting a job and expecting people to come in, I think it's not going to work anymore. And the third thing is building that multicultural diversity, a diverse workforce.
Yes.
So making sure that now you have that equality, you try to give that chances to ethnicities and nationalities, gender roles, and I think if you combine those three challenges, I think these are the main challenges, I think, as we see. If you're a CHRO, make sure that you keep this in mind because they will come along before you know it.
Yes, definitely. And can you share your journey of skill development to accommodate the evolving role of a CHRO requirements?
Well, for myself, maybe I had a special case. Alhamdulillah, at the beginning of my career, I had a very accommodating boss, somebody who empowered me to lead a leadership, to take a leadership role in a department. I was in IT first, so I worked as an IT professional for 4 years, like I said. So I managed the customer service department in IT, and it was one of the most hectic departments. Most of the people were older than me at the time. So for me, giving me that chance to lead people and understand what makes them tick, and he gave me also an open door policy, so I could go back to him and ask those questions and inquire. And for me, this was a turning point in my career, definitely a turning point. So after that, when I worked, I wanted to learn HR from the main source, learning from big companies, big firms. So I moved to the Big Four. So that's why being a consultant working with government organization, private sector, public sector, understanding how organizations work and the contribution of HR. So, and I was facing that at some point, trying to convince people HR is not an admin department. We're not in the 80s now. We have come a long way, and you could ignore the function of HR and its contribution. And once down the road, when you run out of people that could drive that business growth, you will understand and you will realize it can be very late at the time. So for me, I worked as a consultant for a few years. I became a manager. Then I wanted to sit on the other side of the table. I wanted to become a client. Because we used to hear this from clients, it's easier for you as a consultant to come and give us those fancy, proposals and plans, but try to stay with us and implement those proposals. So I wanted to do that, to be honest. So I went to one of the biggest FMCGs in the region. I worked as the CHRO there, and it was filled with challenges. And for me, just exposing yourself to those challenges and just try to brainstorm. You will not believe the level of contribution that people could give you, the insights. Try to give people a chance. Let them voice their concern. Let them give you ideas. And try to, alhamdulillah, we have a very small community here. And we could definitely, I could reach out to you, Haifa, I could ask you a question. I think everybody will be welcoming when it comes to asking them questions and try to lay out your concern. And people will be very forthcoming and help you out.
Yes, definitely. What was the main thing that you noticed as a difference from the consulting to the client view, as you mentioned it, for you?
Wallahi, so many scenarios and so many stories, but one of the things that actually triggered me is that people believed in consulting more than they believe in their own people, which is very sad, to be honest. I remember going and working with a client and working with one of the functions, and the guy who's heading the department, he's been there for 30 years. And he gave me everything that needs to be done. And after my analysis, meeting with people, understanding the organization, reading the strategy, brainstorming, I got to the same conclusion, to be honest. This guy has been preaching this for 30 years and nobody was listening to him. So for me to go as a consultant standing in front of a board and giving me that solution, everybody was clapping for me. Everybody was applauding, and some of them were very happy that we come up to that conclusion, which is very sad. And I had to give them that credit. I told them, this guy has been working with you, and he's the one who actually told me, this is the way. And I reached the same conclusion. So let's invest in people. Let's hear them out. So because I was a consultant, they felt I know everything, which I didn't, of course. Nobody does. But invest in people, listen to them. So you could have saved a lot of money by just listening to that person. I think this is a very eye-opener for me.
Yes, definitely. It is an eye-opener, as you said. And it's a lesson also for us all to learn in organizations, you know, to listen to our people who've been there in the company, especially, and understand it inside out, to listen to their
I agree.
suggestions. From merely a buzzword, culture has now become a priority for many senior leaders. From your view, is it really that important? I mean, does culture make or break an organization? And if so, how? And then how can we really institute a culture as well?
I like what you say, if it's a buzzword. Basically, yes, companies use that as a key selling point. It's just a marketing gimmick, you know, we have a good culture. And it's a very loose, I think, terminology. Unfortunately, Yani, it's not enough to just hang those fancy posters in meeting rooms with arrows and, you know, flashy diagrams and saying that we have these values and we focus on culture. I think you need to live that culture. I was talking recently to a key decision maker here in the country, and he was asking, how could we, you know, have a good culture? And I said, you have to live it. People need to see you as the head of this organization, that you really reward good behavior and you really eliminate bad ones. If people see you that you talk the talk and you walk the walk, people will understand. A good culture will rally, you know, bringing people around a common cause and a common purpose, not just, you know, having those values sticking on the wall. Try to make people understand, you know, give back to people, let them feel that you have their back. Let's say, for example, you know, the employees' well-being and trying to focus on mental health at some point. So this is very important. People actually will treasure that you look after them. So this is what creates a good culture. And your employees will be your key marketeers. They will go around and tell people, instead of just having those flashy, you know, posters and everything telling people about a good culture. So invest in a good culture. Make sure that you walk your talk, and make sure that you really make people feel that you really care about this culture. If somebody is trying to contaminate the organization, so to speak, let them go. I know this is a very hard decision for so many of us. You are a CHRO, I'm sure you've been there. But sometimes you have to do that for the sake of everyone else. So make sure you invest, make sure you take it seriously, and people go a long way with that.
I fully agree with you. I think, especially now with all the studies that are coming out and letting us know, you know, how much a toxic boss impacts the employees in a negative way, even health-wise. So I think it's important, if someone is not ready to lead people in the right way, then let them do the technical work, but
Exactly.
not give them people to manage. At least if the organization needs that person, then at least not let them manage people.
Exactly.
Because then you know the organization gets the technical expertise it needs, but then it does not create a negative impact on the people side as well.
And people can share the news if they could talk to everyone. For example, I could make a phone call to you and ask you about a question. I trust your judgment. So if you tell me that this organization would not work, I would trust your judgment. So let's make sure that you really convey that you're sincere about people, about your culture, not just bragging about, you know, that you have a good culture and that it's a healthy environment. I agree.
Yes, definitely. Can you share some of the strategies or initiatives that you implemented to attract and retain top talent, especially in Saudi Arabia in this competitive market?
I could come up with two. One of them is, I think we were working together at the time. In Amar, we were working King Abdullah Economic City. It's a huge city, but one of the challenges actually making people come and stay. People would come in, but they would want to bring their spouses. So it was very challenging for us to make sure that we have a sustainable workforce. So one of the things that we did is basically have a spouse hiring program. We called it Together at Cake. And that program basically tells the candidate, come and live in Cake, work in Cake, and we will make sure if your spouse wants to work, we'll find a job for her in a very good and decent place. And we used to do our homework and go and check on companies, meet them, and try to show them that we have caliber just sitting on the sideline and trying to contribute. And this made a huge difference in the retention process in Nerma. So imagine making that, most of the people were expats, of course, so they had that challenges because Cake was a big city and it was not heavily populated at the time. So they needed somebody, they needed a community, they needed to have, a job. So the man would not suffer with those phone calls every single half an hour. So alhamdulillah, it was a very good program. It was a great program. Alhamdulillah, we achieved most of the KPIs, alhamdulillah, that we had. The other thing, I think one of the initiatives that I have personally have implemented in some of my clients is basically a basket of benefits. It's not, just doing the old status quo benefits, just the schooling and everything. We used to have this solution for companies. So if you're getting hired, you could choose the benefit that you want. And we made the scoring criteria. We made a model that, for example, if you want to choose the health insurance for your parents, this, of course, will take over some of those other benefits as well. But you could take that. You could take the parents' health insurance. And we have some benefits across the board. Benefit for the seniors, benefit for everyone. And it was a huge game changer for some companies. Having a basket benefit, instead of just telling people, we have schooling, and we have other things. And I think this made a huge difference on some of the organizations that I have consulted for.
Yeah, I fully agree, especially since people are in different life stages. So they might want different things, tickets, younger age, schooling
Yes.
fees when they have children, other things when they are older. So I agree with you, having a basket does create more options.
Yes.
And I love the idea about the spouse hiring. This is
Thank
really,
you.
it's the first time I hear of a program like this. So kudos to you, this is
Alhamdulillah,
amazing.
thank you.
MashaAllah. How do you approach talent development and succession planning within your organization to ensure that there's a strong leadership pipeline?
That's a very important question, Haifa. And I think understanding the strategy, going back to the main guidelines, understanding the strategy, where we're going, and just making that gap skills analysis, understanding the gap of what we have and the strategy or the growth that you're looking for. And I have seen a lot of people trying to overcome this process by hoping things will be better, especially in family businesses. They have people working with them for years and they said, okay, they're ready for that position. No, that's not true. So having that skills gap analysis, making sure that we have a competency-based development program, not just one-size-fits-all approach. Invest on those management trainee programs. Try to also develop the second line. And again, you don't want to do all of that and people leave you at the end. So everything is tied together, as you can see. So having a competency-based development program, making that gap analysis and going by the letter. If you have a CEO who's willing to invest in that firm, he would definitely make sure that you have the right, the first line and the second line ready to go at any time, especially in those critical positions. Identifying those critical positions. I work in some FMCGs and they have very critical roles. And making sure that you have, even from Saudi people could do the job, or even expat, just make sure that you have the second line ready to go at any time.
Yes, definitely. This is very important. Can you share some success stories of examples of HR initiatives that had a significant impact on employee engagement in your organization?
Wallahi, trying to think of one. We created like a buddy program. I think you've done this even before, the HR buddy program.
Mm-hmm.
Having somebody in HR to answer all your questions during even the probation period and trying to coach you and tell you about the organization. I always tell people when you join an organization, make sure you hear and you listen more than you talk. And having an HR buddy, a person that you would say, this person will help you actually engage and try to get to know everyone. He will go with you during lunch hours with other people, try to get you to know the other people from other departments. Having that safety net, having that somebody that help you at the beginning will go a long way. Some of those initiatives, so for example, you will get your job offer, you'll get the welcoming email and said, by the way, Ahmed is going to be your buddy. Here's his mobile number and he's actually going to reach out to you. So the HR buddy from HR will reach out to that new candidate, and he will take over after the orientation. They will make sure that to give even the casual stuff, not all the formal stuff they give in orientation. They will tell, for example, we have this department. For example, this person has been with us for this number of years. Let's go out for lunch. And as newcomers, you have a lot of questions, but sometimes you're very shy to ask them. You feel that if you do, that people will feel certain way about you. You don't want to just abolish your reputation at the beginning. So having this HR buddy program actually helped a lot. It made people feel like home. It made newcomers think that they have somebody taken care of, and not being surprised by what happens in organization. I think this has mashallah paid huge dividends for us.
Yeah, this is an amazing program, and also for aspiring HR professionals who maybe want some tips and advice on how they can accelerate their paths to success, what would be some of the advice you give them?
Well, as you know, Haifa, the market has, mashallah, become, I wouldn't say crowded, but there's so many, mashallah, that the competition is very high. Make sure that you go the extra mile. I know this sounds like a cliche, but go the extra mile. Read. Leaders are readers. Try to be curious, understand. Don't just sit on the sideline and hope things will be better. Don't focus on professional certification at the point. Make sure that you gather that experience. Make sure you learn from the expert. Reach out to people. Understand what happens in your industry. Be a thought leader at some point. You don't have to be a thought leader to have 20 years of experience. You could just learn about the trending aspects in your business. And don't be shy. Take risks. I mean, all of us have taken risks. And sometimes when you go back, sometimes you feel that you should have done more. So do that. Don't feel shy. Don't feel that somebody will take your hand and grab you and say, I will just lead you to the promised land, so to speak. So make sure that you do that. Ask people. There will be a lot of disappointment. I hate to break it to you. There will be some disappointment. Make sure that you dust yourself off, get yourself up, and inshallah, bi'idhnillah, روح توكل على الله. Bi'idhnillah ta'ala, I think everything will be fine for everyone.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And basically, that wraps our enlightening conversation with Ahmed Qubouri on uncovering human capital. This has been quite an insightful discussion on engagement, transformation, and a whole lot of topics that we covered. I love the new programs that Ahmed suggested. And it's important to remember that the greatest asset in the company is not the product or services, it's the people. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to bringing you more insightful discussions in the next episode. Until then, keep uncovering the potential in your human capital.